Europa is the title of an exhibition by Emily Jacir that started at the Whitechapel Art Gallery in London. This is the first solo presentation by Emily Jacir, and we're delighted to have not only a tour, but new works by Emily that are inspired by the site and connect the work to the building. This exhibition is very much rooted in two areas of Palestine and Ireland, and it's very timely for the museum in the sense of the 1916 commemoration that we really are investigating the notion of colonial power through the eyes of a contemporary artist. A book that has influenced Emily is by Brian Friel, Translations. And I think the notion of translating Europe is something to be discovered and explored in this show and questioned.
I really wanted the discourse around my work to change a bit because the impact and influence of Europe on me, my practice, my work, and my thinking has often been overlooked. People tend to focus solely on the more political elements coming out of Palestine. So it was very important to me to choose works that were in dialogue and relationship about me working in Europe. For me, being able to show this body of work together under this rubric of Europa is really an important shift in the way my work is viewed. Showing my work in Ireland is very important to me and resonates differently for me than other survey shows that I've done in other places. And I think that's because I have quite a long-standing relationship with Ireland in many different ways.
One of the works that you encounter in the exhibition is within this room, and it's entitled ExLibris, and you can see a little bit of it behind me here. ExLibris is a Latin phrase that means from the library of, and it's a work that commemorates the 30,000 books that were looted from Palestinian homes, libraries and institutions by Israeli forces in 1948. 6,000 of these books are now stored in the Jewish National Library in Jerusalem.
Over the course of 2 years, I would go into the library. Initially, I went to the library searching for the names of the owners inside the books, transcriptions, dedications. But the longer I worked, the more I found other traces in the books that I began documenting, like scribbles, a water stain, a note, pressed flowers, other traces of the owners. This work was made for Documenta, which is in Kassel in Germany, where the largest book restitution project in the world took place after World War II. So for me, it was site-specific in that way to put these books in that context, raising the question of who gets restitution and reparation and who doesn't.
One of the final works within this exhibition is entitled From Paris to Riyadh, Drawings from My Mother. Emily grew up in Saudi Arabia, and as a child she remembers travelling to other countries with her family. On the way back to Saudi Arabia, on the plane, she would watch her mother with Vogue magazine, blackening out the flesh-coloured parts of the women's bodies.
In 1998, I moved to Paris for a year, and the commodification of women's bodies really affected me, and I was super aware of it all the time, and it felt suffocating, and I kept trying to figure out, why am I being so affected by this? This is normal. But actually for me it wasn't normal because I spent 15 years of my life living in Saudi Arabia where the image of woman is banned. And I realized the work was more about this traverse between two extreme forms of patriarchy, one in which women are objects and the other in which women are banned from public view. Ireland has always been close to me my whole life, actually. We have this shared heritage of British Colonial Rule, and going to protests in the 80s, the signs at the protests always used to say, Palestine and Ireland, two peoples, one struggle. So there's just been a long history of solidarity and shared discourse. The 100-year anniversary of the April uprising was very important to me, and the history of the people, what this building is, and who the people were in this building was very important. The new work I made for the show is called Notes for a Canon, and it kind of brings together several trajectories of research that I've been following that get framed actually by the site of IMMA, because IMMA is here at the Royal Military Hospital. And when I did the site visit, I researched the history of the building. General Maxwell, when he issued the order to assassinate the leaders of the uprising, he made that order in this very building.
The site of the museum is imbued with colonial power as a past military hospital. She connects this to Palestine and the past colonial powers, and merges the two with a sound work that reverberates throughout the courtyard and the museum as we look at the notions of Britain, Ireland and Palestine, and question the notions of time and power.
This shared heritage of British colonial rule has left remnants, and I think that when the viewer goes through the exhibition, there will be a sense of a familiarity, something that they recognize in the work. There are underlying themes that run through all the work, amongst which are the idea of movement, the space between 2 points. Translation is very important, exchange, and also my work is very heavily research-based, and so a lot of it also is dealing with silenced historical narratives. I would say the main theme underpinning Notes for a Canon is an interrogation of time, timekeeping in public space, the standardization of time, also, and this reverberates in my other works as well, what happens to time during the moment of trauma and in the aftermath of trauma, and how that trauma unfolds across generations. In our case, we're on the 4th, 5th generation now. When is it that that trauma can be spoken about, is acknowledged? When is it safe to speak? I mean, you see around the world, including here, case after case after case of a generation that has experienced something horrific, but it's not till the 2nd or 3rd generation that it's, and then you would hear the common refrain, my grandparents never told me that, or they never talked about it. It's quite common. So I'm interested in time for those reasons as well.
Emily Jacir is not an artist that should be pigeonholed to the role of conceptual artist and seen as a political artist, Palestinian artist. I think that's far too narrow a label. I think what Emily Jacir is an artist of the politics and poetics of time. So the show is an interesting mix-up of political facts, real events, through the eyes of the artist. It's almost like stepping into a film, so you're shown snapshots from different eras or different time, and you step back into the present. That she's showing you a very interesting view that is connected with herself, that it could be seen, some of the pieces particularly as self-portraits, through a kind of object, a photograph, a sound work. Emily Jacir invites you to connect with this exhibition, with the histories, the people, and also the world that she creates.